In this final video, we're going to be discussing the role of sleep and dreaming. REM sleep is particularly associated with dreaming. 80% of awakenings from REM yield reports of story-like dreams. External stimuli can also be incorporated into your dreams. So when your alarm clock goes off in the morning, for example, before you fully wake up, you might have some sort of alarm go off as part of your dream. And while not everyone reports their dreams, everyone dreams. Some people tend to remember their dreams more than others, but everyone dreams. You do dream outside of non-REM sleep, but your vivid dreams, the dreams that you associate with dreaming, that sort of dream state, occur during REM sleep. Everyone dreams a number of times each night, and dreams appear to take place in real time. Dream sessions also get longer throughout a sleep session. So if you recall that your REM sleep increases as the night progresses and your non-REM sleep decreases. So as your REM sleep increases and your non-REM sleep decreases, then of course your dream sessions will get longer. Non-REM dreams are less vivid, with the exception of night terrors. Night terrors are brief, very frightening dreams, sometimes not true dreams, but just the physiological arousal that accompanies the feelings of fear. So the dreaming that you have in night terrors might be quite different than the dreams that you would have in REM sleep, even if they were bad dreams. But what is characteristic of night terrors is the physiological arousal that accompanies the feeling of fear within those dreams. Night terrors are usually experienced by children, and they tend to occur most often in sleep stage 4. So there's two overarching theories of what we dream about. One is psychoanalytic theories, and this is the stuff that you would be familiar with via Sigmund Freud. Dreams are the symbolic fulfillment of unconscious wishes. They have manifest content. This is loosely connected to a series of bizarre images and actions, and then they have the latent content, which is the true meaning of the dream. My colleague, for example, she tends to have dreams when her ex-mother-in-law used to visit, so this was in the past. She used to have dreams that a lion would be biting off parts of her fingers. So this would be the manifest content, and again, it would be sort of bizarre images and actions. And the latent content, this true meaning, was that she had a very sort of critical relationship with her then now ex-mother-in-law, that her mother-in-law was very critical of her, and those visits were very challenging. And so the latent content was really that she felt that she was being sort of attacked, quote unquote, by her ex-mother-in-law. So you have this manifest content and this latent content. So this is the idea behind these psychoanalytic theories. The other common theory is that dreaming is basically a coping strategy. Dreams are biologically adaptive as they lead to enhanced coping strategies in dealing with life events. Typically, you dream about important survival-related things rather than mundane everyday events. So you tend to dream about things that are associated with emotional arousal. These are things that tend to be more salient, more important, things that you're anxious about with regards to work, exams, courses. You could have dreams about failing a class because this would be something that you'd be anxious about. So in this way, you tend to dream about things that are really important. And you don't dream so much, again, about these mundane things like folding your laundry, taking a shower. So according to this theory, dreaming is basically this sort of coping strategy that you have this additional opportunity to sort of run through some of the events that are important in your life and find out things through dreaming about them. And this is different from psychoanalytic theory because it's not like, oh, that your unconscious is trying to tell you some sort of message that you need to learn by analyzing your dreams. No, it's a lot more direct than that. That you might be going through a difficult phase and that you're having some dreams about stuff, and you can then basically say, well, you know what? I've been dreaming about this, so maybe this is actually making me more anxious or giving me more stress than I realized. And you might be able to explore that content in some new way. So these two theories are a little bit related, but also at the same time quite different. The final theory is that dreams are meaningless brain activity, and this is the activation synthesis hypothesis. And this is basically the idea that the cortex is bombarded with signals from the brainstem, producing the pattern of waking EEG. In response, the cortex generates images, actions, and emotions from personal memory stores. So in the absence of external verification, basically in the absence of any external information from the environment, these dream events are fragmented and bizarre, and they reveal nothing more than the fact that the cortex has been activated. And dreams are also personal in that memories and experiences are activated, and memories and experiences are personal, but they have no meaning. So the fact that you are dreaming about one thing versus another doesn't really mean anything other than the fact that your brain is more likely to become active with things that have occurred recently or somehow were loosely connected to recently. Things that were recently active in your brain during the daytime are going to be more likely to be recently activated in your brain at nighttime. So this is the basic idea behind this. And these dream theories are not necessarily mutually exclusive. There's really not a whole lot of scientific evidence to support the psychoanalytic theory, the Freudian theory, but there might be a little bit of evidence for the coping strategy, and there is evidence for this activation synthesis hypothesis. And there are elements of this that it could be a little bit of both. It could be a little bit of this coping strategy and a little bit of this activation synthesis. You may be more likely to, again, dream about certain things that have happened recently that are more important, and dreaming could be adaptive in the sense that you could learn more of these connections and links with your life and how you feel about it, but then it also could just be a byproduct of this meaningless brain activity that we are assigning meaning to. So it's not that our brain is trying to tell us something, but we as humans are searching for connections, searching for understanding, and we have a natural tendency to interpret our dreams and approach it from this sort of coping strategy standpoint, even if they may in fact be meaningless brain activity. There are a number of sleep disorders that are particular for non-REM sleep. One is insomnia. So this is a disorder of slow wave sleep resulting in prolonged inability to sleep, and in which case would also be to fall asleep or to stay asleep. There are multiple causes of insomnia, such as anxiety and depression. And most people think of insomnia that you have trouble falling asleep, but one type of insomnia is also that you have trouble staying asleep. So I went through a difficult period in my life in the past, and went through a period during that time where I suffered from insomnia. And at first I didn't recognize it because I thought of this more classic definition of this prolonged inability to fall asleep. Well, I would have no trouble falling asleep, but then I would wake up in the middle of the night at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep. Of course, when I visited the doctor, I found out that that was insomnia. There's also drug dependency insomnia. This is a condition resulting from continuous use of sleeping pills. So you have a drug tolerance that results in the deprivation of either REM or non-REM sleep. This can in turn lead to using greater amounts of the drug so that you can fall asleep. So this is something that you'd want to be really careful of. Sleeping medications tend to have higher levels of dependency associated with them. Another disorder of non-REM sleep is known as narcolepsy. This is a slow wave sleep disorder in which a person uncontrollably falls asleep at inappropriate times. You also tend to have higher rates of this in individuals with sleep apnea, and it may be possibly related to some of this microsleep that I discussed in one of the earlier lecture videos, and that You fall asleep for this brief period of time, but narcolepsy could possibly be an extreme form of that. Sleep apnea is quite common. Sleep apnea is an ability to breathe during sleep, so the person actually has to wake up to breathe. And this can be due to a physical problem with the sinus or nose, or due to a brain signaling issue, which would be much, much worse. Because, of course, you can go and have surgery to try to correct a deviated septum within your nose, but it would be much, much more problematic to try to correct a brain signaling issue with regards to sleep apnea. So this is also something that is related to the muscle relaxation, that when you fall into sleep, your muscles tend to relax more, and then it makes it harder for your neck muscles in terms of breathing. And sleep apnea is also something that is becoming more common in athletes, so tends to be associated with individuals that have gained weight. But you also have highly fit and athletic individuals that have very large muscular necks, and they have very, very high rates of sleep apnea in these muscular, thick-necked athletes as well. And this has actually been resulting in deaths from sleep apnea in very young, athletically inclined individuals because of how thick their neck muscles are. The disorder of REM sleep is cataplexy. This is a form of narcolepsy, but it tends to be linked to strong emotional stimulation in which an animal or person loses all muscle activity or tone as if they are in REM sleep, but they are awake. So they would have the atonia, they would sort of collapse from a lack of muscle activity or tone, but they would presumably be awake. And you also have sleep paralysis. This is a disorder of REM sleep. This is the inability to move during sleep owing to the brain's inhibition of motor neurons. So in sleep paralysis, a person has entered REM sleep and they are dreaming and atonia has occurred, but the person remains awake, quote unquote. Sleep paralysis is apparently quite common, and over time people can develop some control over it where they can prevent themselves from entering into this lucid dream state, or they can allow themselves to enter this lucid dream state, and they do particular things to wake up from it. I gave the example earlier on in the chapter showing the recordings of a person and the thoughts of when they were encountering sleep paralysis. And while it is quite common, individuals that have it report that it is very, very disturbing because they tend to have sleep paralysis more with negative and uncomfortable dreams. And this is the end of Chapter 13. Please make sure that you fill out the participation questions that were posted as part of this lecture series.